I'm back. I'm back. Another vlog. I haven't done a vlog in a while because things are pretty busy, studying Chinese and such. But tea season has ended, and there's some interesting things happening. The first thing that's happening, and I think there's two things happening that I want to talk about right now. The first is Mao Feng. I got this year's Mao Feng finally. At the beginning of the Mao Feng season, I was talking to the farmer, and he said, I told him, hey, I want to buy tea from you. And he says, okay, what do you want? Which grade? And I was like, well, how many do you have? What do you have? He basically said, I have 6 grades depending on the picking. And I was like, great, I want all 6. So after a month, so the beginning of the season was about April 6th, 5th, right at Qingming. And then the rest of the season, and so it went for about a month, give or take. It's interesting at this point to note that Qingming doesn't really apply for Mao Feng. And you will hear Mao Feng farmers talk about it, but it's mostly because people who knew Qingming applied for Longjing and Biluochun started asking Mao Feng farmers for pre-Qingming Mao Feng. It doesn't really apply. Yes, you can have pre-Qingming Mao Feng, but really the very first pickings happen the days before Qingming, sometimes on Qingming, sometimes a day or two after Qingming. Mao Feng season starts around Qingming, as opposed to Biluochun and Suzhou, which can start a week before, which gives you. And so what Qingming is really saying is that here is the first cutoff. Here it's been a week, boom. Here's the best picks, because you have about a week of best picks. For Mao Feng, you have about a day, and that's not really a day or two. And so, yes, you can have pre-Qingming Mao Feng, but it's not as important as Biluochun, as Longjing. It really it's more coincidental. Like, by the way, this happened to me, had been picked before Qingming. It's just another tidbit. So I got all 6 grades, and in the following week, I'm going to make these 6 grades available as individually, on their own. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to start doing some videos. Next week, I'm getting a nicer camera, so look forward to some more high-quality videos. Next week, starting next week, what I'm also going to do is I'm start doing tastings. And I've been doing some tastings on Instagram, the live Instagrams. So he basically numbered them 1 through 6. And number 1 is the best, the earliest. Number 6 is the latest, the farmer style, the farmer's drink. And so I did 3 live Instagrams. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you definitely should. I did 3 live Instagrams. And the first Instagram, I did 1 against 2. So tasting 1 next to tasting 2. Tasting 3 next to tasting 4. Tasting 5 next to tasting 6. And that was a nice intro to them. I did notice some interesting things, because especially when you when you pick a tea early, it's refreshing, it's soft, it's savory, it's just all these great qualities. And as the season goes on, these start to decline a little bit. Less soft, less savory, less complex. And then what you start to get more of is a little more astringency. The complexity turns into like more of a singular flavor. And kind of the less desirable traits start to switch off. I start to see what kind of the cutoff was. There was, because you get 1 and 2, which is both fantastic. They're just both great teas. When picked that early, they're just both fantastic. But once you get to about 3 to 5 area, that's when you start seeing a switch. That's when, I think it was number 3 and 4. So you had 3, and it was savory and sweet, and really, really a good Mao Feng. And then number 4 was still a good Mao Feng, but there was a noticeable difference. You could tell there was a noticeable, the sweetness and the astringency had kind of boop, and there was a noticeable change in quality. And I think noticeable even to the untrained palate. They'd be like, okay, these are definitely two different teas. And then you saw that again more, especially against from 4 to 5 was a big change too. So really an interesting tasting, and really a lesson in pick time, and just a visual lesson too. You know, if you line, I'm going to do this in my future videos. I'm going to line the buds and leaves up in a row, and you'll see it. You'll see the first bud be very small and thick, and then as it goes on, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. And once you kind of get that idea, you can begin to look at other teas on the internet. For example, I go to a website, I see Huang Shan Mao Feng, I look at the picture, and you can start to judge what the pick time is. You're like, oh wow, those buds are really soft, or really short and fat. That must be an early pick. Or those buds are pretty long and thin. That's definitely a later pick. And then from that, you can begin to assume the basic profile. Nice, fat, and small. Going to be savory and light. A little bit longer. It's going to have a bolder flavor, but it's going to be a little astringent. And that's a really important thing to be able to know. So definitely look forward to those videos. So on a final thing, you know, in China I have opportunities to explore teas. You know, just the amount of a given tea, the amount of availability for a given tea is much, much higher in China. For example, if I want to explore Dansong, in America, you know, there's a lot of companies. Okay, there's a lot of companies. Dansong is not a good one. If I want to explore Maojian, Hubei green tea, Hunan green tea, Maojian. Hubei, Hunan, Hunan? Those H's confuse me. If I want to explore the Maojian green tea in America, I have a few companies that can do it. You know, it's not so much variety. But here in China, off Taobao alone, not even talking about Friends of Friends, off Taobao alone, I have a much wider kind of pool to pull from. And not saying it's all going to be great, but there is more exploring I can do. And so if you guys are interested about any particular tea, I'm still studying white tea, and I might do a study on Guapian next. But if there's a particular tea where if you're like, Dylan, I really want you to explore this tea. I've been curious about it. I don't know too much about it. I don't know too much about the tasting. Let me know in the comments below, and that's what I'll do. All right, guys. I'll see you later.